Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with me. Without further ado, I will continue where we left off. All right. So, this dream was sometime later. I was a much more spiritual person. I'm still kind of at this point understanding more of who I am, but I was definitely more spiritual. So, that evening, as I lay in bed, I felt a deep loneliness in my heart. I deeply missed my mermaid life. I missed swimming with my sisters and playing in the sea. I missed lying beneath kelp forests and living amongst coral reefs. I missed the marine life swimming around me and sheltering in my hair. I missed the endless embrace of the sea. I went to sleep seeing an octopus, and it swam around me and reached for my hair. It lived there with me. It was a very small little octopus, and it always played in my hair. I dreamt about swimming with my mermaid sisters. We were really trying to teach humans about the ocean, how to appreciate her and her beauty and bounty. We swam with a few female humans, and we wanted them to understand the beauty that we saw in the sea. We wanted to show them why we love the ocean so much, and we hoped that they would feel the same. When I swam with my sisters, we were all very connected to each other. We sensed one another's energy and state of mind. We swam together as we attempted to teach humans about the sea, hoping to impart upon them an appreciation for the ocean and her incredible gifts. I wonder if we got through to them. And then my dream ended. So for that one, I was going to bed, and I was struck by such an intense feeling of longing for the sea, imagining that I was beneath the waves and was watching the current gently rocking the kelp forest to and fro. I remember just feeling so lonely for that connection that I started to cry a little bit, which may seem silly, I guess. But I started to cry. I missed it. And I don't think I put it in that journal, but I remember in that dream while I was sitting there in the kelp forest, and there was some coral. I don't know, I remember swimming, and I remember there were parrotfish. There were parrotfish, and they were munching on parts of the coral. And there was like a part that had broken off or something. And I remember I popped it into my mouth. I don't know why. It was just like this broken piece, and they were all like, doing parrotfish stuff. But this part broke off. It was like a dry part. And it broke off, and I just was like, oh, let me take that. And I just popped it in my mouth. It was literally a mouthful of chalk. That's what it tasted like, chalk. It was like, as I crunched it in my mouth, it shattered like chalk, and I just chewed it, and it was like super fine, and it was like, I don't know, it felt like chalk in my mouth. That's the best way I can describe it. It literally felt like I had chalk in my mouth, but I didn't think twice about it. The taste didn't really have a taste, but I remember the texture. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. And I remember the little octopus. They were small. They're very small little octopus. And they were like swimming in front of me. And I remember thinking to myself, like, if you don't have a home, you can stay in my hair. You can live in my hair. Without a second thought. I met this little octopus and I was like, you can come live in my hair. So yeah, it was interesting. They were really cute. They went like in their little tentacles were like, I was like touching their little tentacles and they were like in my hand, and then they went whoop and just went into my right here. And I remember them just like wrapping their tentacles around my hair and just like just hanging out, you know. I was just happy. So yeah, interesting dream. So I will go on with my next dream. This was some time later. Again, I was more spiritual at this time, but this was some time later. I dreamt that I was a siren. Somehow this felt very different from the dreams that I've had as a mermaid. I was solitary and in the deep, open ocean. My tail was very long and armored like the ancient fish. I felt very powerful, and I was much more stoic. The sea was covered by an unyielding fog, too thick to see through. I saw a small white boat at the surface, and it did have an engine. I saw the man on the boat as he was trying to figure out where he was and how to get back to shore. I looked at him. I did not say anything to him, but he saw me. I rose, partly out of the water. It seemed like I could stand, but yet I floated. I nodded forward, inclining him to follow me. He started his engine, and I swam on the side of him and just ahead of him. My tail was longer than his boat. I recall that some of the armored parts of it were slightly spiked. I continued to guide him until we reached the shore. I pushed him onto the shore, beaching his ship. Once I knew he was ashore, I returned to the sea without a word. I lifted my index finger into the sky, and I started spinning my forearm as my index finger was extended, like that. I started spinning my forearm, and this started to draw in all of the fog toward my finger like a ball of misty yarn. I gathered the entire area of fog, making it clear over the sea. The fog had gone, and now it was easily navigatable, as if the fog was never there. I held it in my hands like a ball, and then I dove into the ocean and dropped it onto the shallow sea floor. The fish that were around me frenzied toward it and began to eat it. I remember thinking to myself, good, it is nutritious for them, like vitamins. After that, I swam into the depths without a second thought, without looking back toward the shore or anything. I never spoke once. I felt so powerful and responsible for all of the creatures in the ocean. I was very strong and very large. I felt as though my skin was a light blue color and my tail was a darker tone of blue and gray. My hair was pulled back on the crown of my head, and the rest was free. It was long and dark in color. I remember there was a kind of organic growth or crown, which I wore on my head like a crown, starting from the temples of my head and then sitting on my head high toward the back. And a point at the middle which sat above the top. I was never afraid. And then I woke up. So that was one of the first dreams that I had where it was unlike any of the prior mermaid dreams that I had had. This dream, I felt there was a difference. It was like I was not necessarily a mermaid, but a siren. And I don't know what the biological difference is or what the lore difference is. I'm really uncertain. But I felt I was much larger. I could visibly see that I was much larger. I was much more stoic. And it felt like this thing I was doing for him was not necessarily out of a love for humans or the want to save him. It was more like, move away from the sea, human. Stay on land where you belong. And then I tended to the sea. And I remember distinctly when I looked at him and he saw me, I remember feeling like there was an innate sense that he was a man who respected nature. Like there was a reverence in him toward nature. I remember feeling that in him, like he was one of those people who respected nature, respected the spirits of nature, like there was a reverence in him. I made sure that you human, you stay on the land. You stay there. And then I took away the fog. I had control over the weather, which is crazy. But I just spun it into this little ball. And it's like all of it just came into this little yarn ball almost. And I dropped it into the sea. All the fish came to eat it. And I just remember thinking, this is nutritious for them. And then I swam away. But I remember that my tail was really long and it was just armor plated. I don't know if you've ever seen some ancient fish, some prehistoric fish. Many of them have bony plating. So it's almost like they've got armor. But they have these bony platings all over their head area. I had this plating on me. And it was from about here and then it went down. And it covered my tail. The top portions and the sides of my tail. It covered it completely. And some of the ridges to my tail were spiked. I just remember when I came up out of the water, it kind of took him aback because when I looked at him, the water's edge was here, right? And I just kind of rose out of the water and I was just standing there in standing there in the water, out of the water. You could see part of my waist and then my hips came down here and then the water was here and I was just standing there. Looked like I was standing there, even though it was the strength of my tail, I'm sure, was keeping me. But he just stood there and looked at me. And I do remember he had an engine. I don't remember what year or anything like that, but I remember the little boat. It was just a little boat. He had an engine. So Yeah. That one, I felt totally different in that dream from the other dreams that I had had of being a mermaid. I was more solitary. I didn't speak. I didn't even speak to the fish. It was all in my head. I didn't speak. And I remember that my hair was pulled back here, but there was almost like it was like corally bits or coral or like some kind of coral growth or something. Maybe it was plating. Maybe it was armor plating. I don't know. But it was like in my hair, and it kind of like came up in the back to like a point like that, and then it like came to the front. And it was like on the sides of my head, almost like that. But it was very different from my experiences, my prior experiences of being a mermaid. So, anyway, that's it. That's all the experiences and dreams so far that I've had for my mermaidness. It goes without saying that there are also many times where I feel drawn to the sea, obviously, drawn to marine life. If you haven't seen my bed already, that's my octopus. There's another octopus right here, and another octopus right here. And then this is like my seal. I call my seal Foopy. Come up with really nice names, huh? Yeah. Anyway, I hope all of you enjoyed my little series of mermaid experiences and mermaid dreams. And as always, thank you so much for your patience. And I hope that you're able to enjoy the rest of your day or enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you so much for being here and listening. So, thank you again. And please, as always, take care. Thank you.